welcome to our coffee break segment with One Word Writer podcast. And we have a special guest this morning, Elizabeth Spann Craig. She is known as the best-selling cozy mystery author. Welcome, 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 Elizabeth. It's such a pleasure having you here.
It is such a pleasure to be here, Tish. I can't believe I'm here. I'm so excited.
Me too. I'm all smiles this morning. So I like my guests to tell us a little bit about yourself before we go into your books and your writing habits. So give us a brief intro as to who you are.
Well, my name is Elizabeth Spann Craig, and I write cozy mysteries, which, if anybody doesn't really know what a cozy mystery is, it's sort of a traditional mystery that has an amateur sleuth. It's very not forensic based or gore based. It's just a very gentle read where you have your suspects, you have a couple of probably victims in your book. You've got your sleuth who's sort of a gifted, amateur. They're always really good. They've got interesting sidekicks, and there's a puzzle to figure out. And the fun thing about, I think, with cozies, and you might feel the same, Tish, is like when you're reading a cozy mystery, it's almost like an interactive experience. Like you're solving the mystery along with the sleuth. You get all the clues, you get the red herrings, and you get to figure it out too.
I love it, love it, love it, love it. Now, I was going to tell you earlier, but I was going to be extremely transparent with everybody. So, Elizabeth, write with me early morning hours at 5 a.m. with my write with me. And Elizabeth, when you first came in there, I just thought you was another writer like me, just an ordinary writer trying, going through the journey of
I
writing.
mean, I am an ordinary writer.
Well, yeah, just, writing that first cozy mystery, and we was gonna go through that journey together, and we was probably struggling and having our issues, and I really didn't know who you were until someone said something about a book. So I said, so I looked it up, and I was like, oh, she's a published author, okay. So I left that alone, and then it was like maybe weeks later, and this was a long time, took me a long time, and I looked online, I said, let me see what she wrote, and I was like, whoa, over 50 books.
It's an
Wow.
excessive number of books. Yes, I've been doing this for a while though. It's all I know how to do, so it's my one trick.
I think that is so amazing. That is such an inspiration. And I was like, oh, wow. I've been telling everyone, Elizabeth works, writes with me. She is such an inspiration. So tell
Um,
us, you have four series, or how many separate series you have out there?
I have four series. Three of them are active series, and one of them is under a different name because when I was starting out writing, I wrote for Penguin Random House. And so they wanted me, one of them was a writer for hire series where they basically had an idea and they had auditions and they wanted me to write the idea. So that's why there's one that's not really under my name, and that's the Memphis Barbecue series. And the others, I have the Southern Quilting Mysteries, and that was also Penguin, but they let me kind of do my own thing with that, so that's been good. And then I took my books independent as soon as I could get my character rights back because I really do like self-publishing my books actually better.
That's my alley. I love that. So what inspired you initially to start writing cozy mysteries?
I think what's inspired me were the writers that I was reading. In particular, MC Beaton, who writes this Hamish Macbeth. I don't know if
Yeah,
you've heard her
I
series.
read that book and loved it. Yes.
It's so
Wow. You see?
good. Yeah. And she's got the Agatha Raisin series too. And I think that's even on television or something. And I like Agatha Raisin, but I really liked Hamish for some reason. He's just this really lazy Scottish police officer. I was like, this is so much fun. And then you know how it is. I mean, it's like you're reading all these cozy mysteries and you start thinking about your own ideas, right?
That's
All right,
true.
that's the way I was too. And I grew up reading all the like Nancy Drew books, and I'd watch Scooby Doo, and I was just always really into mysteries and kind of more gentle mysteries because I'm one of those people who, if I watch something scary on TV or whatever, I'm doing this. I can't handle it. So it's much better if it's something really gentle and easy.
Wow, that's true. So, does any of your series, because I know we tend to write bits and pieces of ourselves in our books, any one of your particular series depicts bits and pieces of who you are as a person?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think partially. I think that I write one of the series I write is the Myrtle Clover series, and Myrtle is more based on my grandmother. She was a retired English teacher, octogenarian who didn't let anybody push her around. But Myrtle's bad qualities are my bad qualities, like my
Oh,
impatience, because my grandmother didn't have the bad qualities. But I was like, well, Myrtle's got to be flawed. So Myrtle's flaws are pretty much my flaws. So when she gets irritated with people or she's wondering why the trash hadn't been picked up and it's like toward the end of the day, I mean, she runs on a routine and I'm very much that way too. So I kind of incorporated some of, I guess maybe that's therapy for me, try to work through some of my issues, my impatience and everything else through
uh,
Myrtle.
that's too cute. So, do you have a favorite villain out of all your series?
Oh my goodness. Well, I think one of the villains I would say is kind of just a recurring character that Myrtle tries to avoid in my Myrtle Clover series. And her name is Irma. She's Myrtle's next door neighbor. She's very nosy and she just gets in Myrtle's business all the time. And Myrtle is trying to avoid her at all costs. But sometimes Irma knows a lot of stuff. She's kind of nosy, she's a gossip. But if Myrtle would just listen to Irma, she might be able to get some clues to actually solve the mystery. But, Myrtle's trying to get out of her way.
I can't wait to read that one. Do you have a favorite series?
Oh, that's so hard to
I
say because
know.
it's kind of like you're talking about your favorite children,
Yeah,
right?
true. I thought about that.
Probably Myrtle is my favorite. I like all of my series, of course, but Myrtle, I think the thing I like about Myrtle is Myrtle writes her own adventures. I just kind of write them down as she goes. Like the dialogue comes completely naturally. I'm finishing up book 21 in the series on your stream every day, actually doing the editing. As you know, I've been editing for a little while. I'm writing that's her 21st adventure. So at this point, I feel like Myrtle, I know her just as well as I know myself, and it makes it really, really easy.
That is so amazing. I'm just so fascinated with your writing process. Okay. Well, I'm writing my first cozy mystery, and initially, my biggest struggle was trying to separate my voice from my character's voice. And it took me a long time to be able to truly discover her voice, even after that first draft. What was your biggest challenge when writing one of your series, that first draft?
I think a continuing struggle for me, and it's not that I don't have struggles and challenges. I think the difference is I see them all the time, and I know that I can conquer them because I've done it so many times. But almost every book, my struggle is with transitions and the length of the novel. So when I was writing for a publisher, I was contracted to usually about 75,000 words. It's
Wow.
kind of long for a cozy,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. But it was a struggle for me. And so my editors would be like, you know what? Readers like to hear more about the quilting because, of course, as you know, there's all these little tropes that kind of go into cozy mystery. So sometimes it's cooking and
Right.
sometimes it's, quilting and things. So they'd be like, I think the readers would really enjoy if you talked more about the fabric that they were choosing for the quilts and how they feel and what they're eating and how does the food taste and what are the quilters at their guild meeting, what kind of food have they got out there. And so that doesn't come really naturally to me because as a reader, I tend to skim over some of the sections that aren't to do
Okay.
with the mystery because it's all the mystery.
Right.
It's all the mystery for me. I'm like obsessed with mysteries. And so, but if you think about it, once you remove the mystery from a book, you
Hmm.
need to still have a bunch of other things going on there at the same time. Obviously, you've got your character development going on. Maybe you've got some subplots, what's going on in the character's life. But that is a continuing struggle for me. And in fact, on your stream today, I added, maybe a couple of thousand words just trying to fluff up some of this manuscript that was running a little short.
Oh, that's something I really need to think about. So your tropes, like the quilting
Mhm.
and the library, are those activities that you find enjoyable? How would you what suggestions would you give someone that's just getting into cozy mystery to write their own series? Should they just maybe take some of their own hobbies or what? What would you suggest?
I would say either take one of your own hobbies or take something that you're interested in because you're going to be spending a lot of time with that hobby or interest, especially. I mean, the quilting series, I think I just finished book 17 in that
Wow.
series. I am not a quilter. Unfortunately, I'm not crafty.
Uh-huh.
I'm a very clumsy person. I don't think I could probably handle doing that stuff. And there's a lot of math involved with quilting as well, just the measuring and
Okay.
just the different types of things. But Penguin did ask me, they wanted specifically for me to work on a quilting series, and I did a lot of research. And fortunately, I am interested in quilting and have a lot of admiration for the people who can do it really well. I'll look at the quilt shows and I'll go on YouTube and watch videos and I read lots of articles. I would say definitely something that you're interested in or something you appreciate. Even better if it's something you already do. Maybe you're, I don't know, a beekeeper, or maybe you like to go to like consignment sales and stuff like that. All of those things. I think they've got a garage sale murder mystery series or two where people just kind of go to yard sales and garage sales, and there's all these mysteries that happen. But that it is something readers expect, I think, for the most part. My Myrtle series doesn't have one.
Oh,
And
okay.
It was dropped by its publisher too. That one was with Midnight Ink, and
Mm.
book one came out, and they were like, "We just don't like that she doesn't have a thing, that she isn't crafty, or she's not. It's not a culinary mystery, or all these different things." So that worked out fine because I took that one, got my rights back,
Oh.
and have done well with Myrtle. But she does not have a little trope that she
Oh, okay.
uses.
Okay, now we're going to talk about your writing process. I got a bunch of questions that people
Okay.
submitted to me from my nano groups and family too. What we already know, but you want to share with us your best writing time and how did you figure that out when you first started writing?
I think you and I have a lot in common, Tish, with this probably because mine started, it's very early in the morning. I mean, it could be 4:30, it could be 4, it could be 5. And that's when I like to write. 6 o'clock with you, 6 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Central, that's perfect as well. And the way it started is I was driving my kid to high school. And I know you do the same
Yeah.
thing, right? As soon as you get off your stream. And our high school, it started early. It was like the late bell was at 7:20. And
Yes.
so I was trying to get, my writing in before I had these obligations. I needed to wake my child up, feed my child, make sure the backpack was ready to go and all of that. Well, the way I had my children, they were like 4.5 years apart. So I had 8 years of high school in a row.
Wow. Sounds
And so
so
that just
familiar.
drilled it into me, just
Right.
get up that early and work. And now, I mean, my kids are 25 and 21, and I'm still doing it. So
Have
I
you
can't.
tried to write any other time of the day or night, or it just didn't work for you?
I mean, I do work. I do another session in the afternoons usually.
Hmm.
I tell myself I'm getting a head start on the next day, and sometimes that's kind of true. I might make some notes about what I want to write the next day, and then sometimes it's more of like me just seeing what I can do. My problem, I think, is because I do have a lot of books come out each year. I have 4 to 6 books come out each year or something like that because I can write 2 books at the same time, which is
Wow.
what I do.
Dream go, dream go. I love
It's kind
that.
of crazy. One of them's got to be in first person and one's got to be in third for me to keep it straight. But because I write so many books. The big problem I've noticed with that is burnout.
Oh.
I mean, because I could write all day long right
Hmm.
now because my kids have grown and flown, and I have that opportunity. This is my full time job.
I love it.
But I will get burned out and carpal tunnel. I mean, getting older, you start having some of these little things. So I don't try to push it. I was like, I'm putting out enough books as it is. I don't need to have like 12 books out in a year. I mean, I know some people who do that and that's
Wow.
great, but I would have to have more series to do that
Hmm.
because I don't really want to outpace my readers. I don't want them to be like, I hadn't read the last book I got. Now she's got 5 more books in this series. I feel like that's discouraging for a reader.
I'm catching up. I'm a new reader and I'm catching up on every one of those series. So, do you have a favorite place to write?
I write in I'm in my little kind of, it's a sunroom right now. I actually moved 5 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
With So I am still figuring out with this new house. We moved from the Charlotte area to Western North Carolina to the mountains because we're both working remote, obviously, and the kids are gone. We didn't have to worry about the school districts anymore, and just wanted a change of pace. And so that was, we lived in our last house for 22 years, and it was in the den. And I had everything, like, my routine was complete, total, easy. And then I made this big move, and I'm still trying to figure out sometimes where the tea is, or where, where everything is in my house. So I'm still working on that. But right now, I really like this sunroom because it's bright and sunny. I've got a bird feeder out the window,
Ooh.
and I can kind of just watch a little nature and relax a little bit. How about you? Where you usually write in
I'm
your
in
writing?
my little bedroom in a little corner, and I like the darkness. I keep it dark. My husband said I keep it too dark, but when
Um,
I first started, I was out on the patio. It was in the fall, and we had the umbrella, and I just loved that. That was so wonderful, But now my allergies are crazy, so it's hard to sit
yeah.
out there. But now I'm just in my desk. I got it fixed up, and it's easy as a writer to pretend you're in a whole different world from the rest of
It's
the room.
nice. It is. That would be, I think I would bother my husband if I tried that though, because he doesn't wake up as early as I
I
do.
know. I'm just fortunate now that
Nice. Yeah.
so when one of the kids eventually moves out, I can convert their room into my office and make it like I want to. So if I want it dark, I can get that feeling, or if I want daylights, I can just open the curtains. But even though I'm up early in the morning, I just like the darkness to write
Mhm.
and just have those ambient lights going on, and that just make me feel like I'm in a coffee shop. So that's my favorite.
Yeah, yeah, it's a cozy feeling, right? And you're trying
Yes,
to create that on the page, so that makes a
exactly.
lot of sense.
Right. Okay, what technique do you use to avoid writer's block if you go through writer's block? I don't like that word, but realistically, we have those moments. So, do you have a special technique?
I haven't had a problem with it so much lately, but in the past I have. And so my trick is usually to skip over whatever the scene is that's bogging me down.
Oh.
Because, there's probably something, if you don't want to write the next scene, maybe somewhere, in your subconscious, there's something wrong with the scene or the character POV, or something's not right. So I'll usually just skip that and then just keep on. I'll make like big asterisks on the
Mhm.
document so I can do a search in Word to just find the asterisks where I left off, and then just go forward. I've also written backwards before from the ending,
Ooh, really? That's a
which
yeah.
that works well. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
The only bad thing about that is the transitions in between are kind of bumpy, kind of messed
Mhm.
up. So, sometimes you have to go through and iron those out again.
I
But I've
didn't
done
know
that
this.
before. What else have I done? Writing in a different place,
Mhm.
because I love writing at home. You and I have talked about how we're introverts. We like being at home. But I will go write at the library, or a coffee shop if I really feel like I'm blocked. And, the house is distracting. I'm not going to say it's not, the dishwasher goes off and the
Right.
dryer stops, and we're like, oh, I'll have to go do that, and no, I really just need to sit down and wait, but if I start feeling really distracted by my environment, I'll go somewhere else too.
Oh,
That was
okay.
harder during COVID. I just walked into another room or something like that instead of going out. But
Yeah, you just asked. I think someone said, "How do you stay inspired to write even when you don't feel like writing?" So, yeah, you basically answered that one. That's a good one. So, what are your favorite writing tools?
that's a little bit of a hard one for me. I'm going to say my timer, and you like a timer too. And I think that this is just, it seems so easy to me. I don't even think of it almost as a tool anymore. But if you can focus for 15 minutes or 20 minutes or even 5 minutes, if you have a really busy, busy, hectic day, and you're like, okay, but if I don't open my document, I'm going to feel bad about not having written just 5 minutes. if you've got the timer, you're like, well, I can do anything for 5 minutes. Housework that I hate doing, I can do that for 5 minutes, and just set the timer and then you just write until it goes off, take a break, and then do it again if you think you can. I think that's my most favorite writing tool. I do also, I think you've mentioned, Tish, using Google Keep, and I use Google
Oh,
Keep
I
as
love it.
well for
Hmm.
ideas, tracking ideas. That's free. It's on your phone. You can sync it to your laptop. And if you get an idea and you're on the go, you can just add it, on Google Keep, and you can pin it to the top of the page and you can find it later. And sometimes the idea is for the story I'm working on, and sometimes it's for a different story. So I need to not get distracted by, my idea. Just have a reminder. You can also make a reminder to ping your phone and tell you, oh, hey, how about this idea? And then later on, you can, put that into a folder for another time for another project. So
I
that's another
like
good tool.
that. I've never thought about pinging, with the reminder. That's super good. I never thought about the timer either. And I use it all the time.
You use it all the time. It's so great. It's so helpful.
Oh, yes. And I have some friends, they complain about, loss of inspiration. And I always say, well, just focus on maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I'm going to tell them, get that timer out because we all got a timer on our phone.
Yeah, exactly. It's so helpful.
So, do you outline?
I do. And this is not, I hate outlining. I really, really hate it. I don't like to do it. It feels like a school assignment to me. But my outlines are 35 pages long. And that's
Whoa.
really how I write so fast, is that I go by the outline every single day. But I didn't start out that way. In fact, when I was writing with Penguin, I didn't have an outline. I was
Hmm.
just making it up as I went along. And that was fine until I got right up on deadline one day and I realized I had this huge plot hole and the book didn't work. And I
Oh.
had to ask for an extension,
Uh huh.
which, I was under contract to deliver it by a particular
Wow.
date. And I'd already spent my advance money, so I didn't want to be, sending that back to him. So that kind of converted me at that point. I thought I don't need to do this anymore. So I have an outline template that I made up myself
Oh.
for my cozy mystery. So it's like I have an opening and closing image. I have a list of suspects and what they look like. And then I've got the first interview, the second interview, the third. I usually have 5 suspects. I kill one of them in
Uh
the
huh.
middle of the book. So that's my second victim. It's usually the one who looks like he's done it, right? And then I've got 5 more interviews. And then I kind of weave in all the subplots. And then I've got a moment of danger. And then I've got the bad guy going away and, the end of the story. So it's not too hard. I mean, cozies definitely have a pattern to them. I'm not going to
Right.
say it's a formula,
Hmm.
but there's certain expectations that readers of cozies have. So it's pretty easy to, I think, to outline a cozy mystery. And in fact, it gets so confusing otherwise, as you know, because you've got the red herrings and you've got the clues and who was what, when, where, and it can be very, very confusing without an outline. But I did it for years, but now I'm outlining.
So, before you formulated your own outline, because that sparked my interest, I followed the Randy Ingermanson, the Snowflake Method. Have you ever tried that one? Just
I have
curious.
not, but I follow him on Twitter. Actually, I don't think he posts on Twitter very much, but his blog is very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And I find that the way that he does it is a very natural way, don't you think? I mean, the way that he does the outlines.
Yeah, it started off that way. It was so helpful with my first draft, and that was it. And then it was repetitive, but it gave me a chance to really get to know my story and to make sure I had a story. So that helped me. But I had to make my own little beat sheet for my own self with the second draft, and I think I can apply that with future books. I'm hoping, like you said, it's a learning experience and growing experience, probably with each book, right?
It is, and you're right. I mean, I think you're really good to. I mean, you certainly have researched a lot of different ways to write. I think you have a lot of resources online, and then you have book resources and things like that. But you're like what you're saying. I mean, finding your own way and coming up with your own beat sheet is really the way to do it, because sometimes if I think too much, I mean, I like Donald Mass's writing the
Yeah.
breakout novel, and James Scott. Why am I blanking on his last name? You know who I'm talking about.
Hmm.
His approach as well is really good, but at the same time, if I start thinking too much about process, it bogs me down. I mean, it
Yes.
makes me feel very self conscious about what I'm writing. You know,
That is so, and I experienced that. So I had to put
um,
that down and figure out. I put a combinations of probably all of them into mine, and then now I'm at a place. This works for me. I created this. It's working really smooth for me. So I
that's the
understand.
right way to go about it. That's for sure.
And someone else asks, how long does it take you from the birth of an idea to finishing your manuscript?
It takes about 3 months, and I am usually writing two books at that same time. So
Wow,
that's how
that's
I'm
a lot.
able to get. I know, but it's down to a science. I mean, for me right now, I'm gonna have to get some water. My
Uh-huh.
goodness. Um, I think I've got it down to a science a little bit.
Mm,
So I have a brainstorming document that I start out with before the outline, and I throw everything out there. Okay, well, who's a good victim? You know, who's somebody that people might want to get at the end,
mm-hmm.
and so I come up with okay, all these people. There are 5 people for different reasons. One of them is a neighbor who can't stand this person, you know, and another is an employer, an employee, and you come up with all those different things. And I just throw everything out there, like even the wackiest ideas. And then I have another document, which is the outline. And at the very top of my outline is the book description or the blurb for the back of the book. So before anything else, I come up with that. For one thing, because my cover designer is really hard to get a hold of. And so I schedule her months in advance, way before I write the book. So I come up with a book description, vague enough, but hopefully interesting enough. And then I start with the outline. I start pulling the best ideas from the brainstorming document onto the outline. And then I'm off working on another book for several more months because that's the way my schedule works. And then once I finish those other books, then I come back to the one that I had outlined months before. But because it's so well laid out, I just pick right up with it. And that works pretty well. And sometimes by then I've got a cover for it. So I put the cover on my outline to kind of remind me, where I'm going with it. But it's very much it's just a real established routine for me at this point. And having done it so many times, I think for me the challenge is keeping it fresh.
Oh, okay. I like that. I mean, it's so detailed and planned. So I don't mind having all these different documents for different things now that I have. Because this morning I got lost with one of them and I was like, I just have too much. But I really don't because it's there for a
Yeah,
reason.
that scared me when you said that this morning. I backed up my work as soon as you said that. I was like, oh my gosh, Tish just lost a document.
I know, and that's awful. And I lost the original first doc draft to this story. But and I was really hurt. I mean, I was crushed. I was devastated. But
Wow.
you know what? I got over it. And to tell you the truth, when I went back to rewrite it, it's so much better. I just love the story. It's totally different, but it has some of the same characters. So there's a reason for everything is how I look at that one.
Definitely. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you wrote it over again more naturally because you're going off of your memory than looking at
Right.
another draft or document. And so it probably worked a lot better.
So this is my question. What do you like most? Writing the first draft or the revision, the editing?
I think now I would always have said writing the first draft, usually. Now I've gotten so I like editing a lot more because there again, it's not so bad of a process. And
Mhm.
I feel like, oh, I'm almost done, So that's kind of the happy part about editing is you're like, I'm almost done with this story and I get to share it with other people. And I think it's just because of the point you are in the story at that point that it seems so great. But nothing really beats the first draft where the story's coming out on the page and it's like you're seeing the characters come to life and the murders happening and all of that.
I think
How about for
writing
you?
cozy
Which one do you
mysteries.
like? You don't like the editing as much. Is
Well,
that because
I
I
have
remember?
to me editing is all in your mindset, and like I said, I go to boot camp on Saturdays, a writing boot camp, and my writing coach has made editing so much fun. it's like it's like decorating your house, not like interior decorating. So
Yeah.
mine, I just know it's a very time consuming process.
Mhm.
That's the
Yeah.
only thing, because I want to rush through it like I did that first draft. But I actually like putting all the pieces together, making it connect and just go real smoothly. At least that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, it
Otherwise,
seems
it's
like
going to
it's
slow.
going great. You've been making, I mean, what are you on, like chapter 23 or
Yes,
24
I
already?
have 30 chapters. I wrote a chapter a day with the first draft, and now I'm on chapter 23. Slow, but you know what? I took the time off. I do. Well, last week I decided I want to publish this next year on September the 15th, which is Agatha Christie's birthday. So that will be, and it's Cozy Mystery Day. So I said that'll be a perfect time. That gives me enough time to get it all done,
Yes.
from editing to the covers to promotion to
Mhm.
pre-orders. So that's my date. I get so y'all is out there in the universe.
That is a great idea. Would never have thought about that. That is absolutely perfect. That you've already got like a promo tie-in right there.
So I figured, well, after this first one, I'm hoping the next one will be just. Well, I already have 3 ideas for the next 3 books, so I'm good with that. And for now,
That's
I'll probably
good.
work on the outline.
Yeah.
Yes, so I'm excited about that. Let's see. Someone asked, "Do you have a writing totem?" In Nano, we have these little objects we keep. So you know what a totem, right? Do you have a
I
particular
do.
nada totem that you keep for
It,
inspiration?
it's probably not so much an item as just a ritual for me
Mm-hmm.
drinking tea. I mean, it used to be
Oh.
decaf coffee, and now I'm like, I'm going to drink some tea. I know decaf. Used to way back it used to be caffeinated, and then I had to go off the caffeine, and then I was on decaf, and I'm like, this is not really as much fun. So now I'm doing like chai tea. So it's more of a ritual for me than a totem, but definitely it's so helpful if you've got some sort of a lead in to, okay, this is my time to write, sort of settle into it, get it done, whatever it is, if it's a routine or whether it's a totem. Either way, it's a great thing to do.
When I first started, I had the musical bowls my friend told me about, and that's when I was writing on a patio, and I was all into haiku. I still am, and but I would play my musical bowls, and it really relaxed me, and it decluttered my mind. So when I actually sat there to write, everything just flowed. I didn't have no restriction. That was I don't play them no more. Maybe I should. I don't know, but yeah, I don't have a totem anymore.
That's a great idea, though. I mean, I know a lot of people love to write to music. I like the lo-fi music that you're playing during your stream. It's
Oh.
just real. It's a nice segue into writing, into saying, okay, I'm doing something different now.
Okay, what comes first? The title or the story?
The title comes first because cozy titles are such a pain, as you know. They're so cute, but it's like punny. I mean, I've got two series that are puns. And then I've got my Myrtle series. I don't pun. It's like Myrtle. Oh, that's so easy. I'll have a Myrtle Clover Christmas. Great, done.
Oh.
But doing pun titles with
Hmm.
some of the other series, it's like that is just it's a lot of work. And
It
so I want to make
is.
sure that I do that first. And so I do the title first, and then I get the story. Yeah,
I used to feel like I had to have a title or I couldn't write. And I
yeah.
realized with that mentality, I was never writing.
Well, that's
So
true.
I put the title, I mean, because, yeah, for me, everything has to line up in order, chronological order. And I
Yeah.
couldn't think of a title. So I have a list of running titles, and I don't know. So, yeah. Let's
No,
see.
that's good. If you've got a list, I keep kind of an idea list as well because it's just that's my probably not my most favorite thing is coming up with a title.
I know. So, what is your preference, ebooks or printed?
I usually prefer to read on an ebook just because I can read not backlit outside, but it's easy to transport and I can hold so many books on it.
Mm-hmm.
As well, I do check out a lot of books from the library on Overdrive.
Yes,
And that's
Bippy
easy.
Overdrive.
And so
I
I can
love
just
it.
load them up on my Kindle and it's ready to go. But I keep a real basic Kindle because I don't want to be distracted when I'm reading. So I don't think my Kindle does anything except for reading. That's it.
So are your books available on audio, printed, and ebooks? All of them? I know the
They,
ebooks. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, they are. They're also some of them, depending on which one, are available in translated languages, German, Portuguese,
Ooh.
Italian. And that's another thing that, we have the ability to do as a self-published author is use platforms like BabbleCube to audition translators and
Oh.
have our books reach different audiences that way. Where the books that I have with Penguin, and I had a good experience with Penguin. I know it sounds like I, wasn't real happy, but I was happy with them. But because they hold all the rights, then they don't usually do translations, and they often don't do audio, but they hold the rights. So the nice thing about self-publishing is we can go into all these different formats and meet all of these different people throughout the world with our books and our stories, and get those out there. It's just really nice.
So was it easy for you to transition from the traditional to the self-publishing?
I mean, in some ways, no, because I knew I needed to get a team together,
Oh.
and I didn't have a team because I just relied on them. So they did my cover design, and they wrote my book cover copy, and they edited my book. They had a copy editor, they had a one who did like global edits. They did some promotion, not a lot. But it was also, I know it's been a while. So it was 2011, I think, was
Mhm.
when I first started putting some books out there myself.
Oh.
And I did feel like, oh, I've got to just figure out who can I get to edit and who can I get to format. I didn't even know back then how to format. And now I can use things like Draft to Digital, to format my books.
Right.
But back then, I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
So it was a little scary, but I got a lot of good recommendations from some other writers, and that helped. But aside from that, no, I mean, it was much better, especially financially, to go self-published than to work for Penguin
Oh,
Random House,
I
because I've
like that.
made like 15% of net or something working
Whoa.
for them. So that was a little harder.
Okay, here's a fun question. If I was a producer and you can only choose one of your series for me to produce on HBO, which one would you give up?
Gosh, well, HBO, that's a lot of pressure because that's like a whole different If you were going to say Hallmark, I would say, okay,
Okay.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
see, I had seen the McCall, Alexander McCall cozies over there on HBO, and Charlene Charlene, I can't even remember her
Oh, yeah, I know
name.
who you're talking
The True
about.
Blood series
Yes,
with Suki Stackhouse.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
that's
Hallmark.
familiar.
Well, okay,
The
we'll go with
yeah.
Hallmark
Okay,
then.
well, I guess HBO, that's the First Lady Detective Agency. Is that
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, I didn't even realize that was on there. That's awesome.
Mhm.
Um, I would say probably Myrtle Clover because that's just, well, either that or the library series. There's
Oh.
a two kind of different audiences, I feel like, for that. I think the Myrtle readers are the ones who are especially not fanatic. That's not the right way. They're avid readers for Myrtle. Let's put it that way. Like I get emails all the time. When's the next Myrtle coming out? And I'm like, no pressure, no pressure. But I think probably one of those two series would do for that. But
Okay.
that would be hard. That's a hard thing to imagine.
Well, we'll
I
put one on HBO and the other one with Hallmark. Which one would go on
think that sounds like
Hallmark?
a great idea. Good idea, Tish. Yeah, from your lips to God's ears there.
Okay, so what's next? What's next for Elizabeth Spann Craig? What's next on your agenda?
I have got two books coming out next month. So that's immediately what's coming out. I've got Crosspatch coming out sometime in the early part of the month. That's the Southern Quilting. And then toward the end of the month, I've got a Myrtle Clover Christmas coming out.
Eh?
Is it too early to have a Christmas story come out?
No.
I don't
Mm-mm.
know. I don't know. Don't think so.
No, not at
I
all. This
I
is the
wasn't real
season.
sure. Yeah, I was like, well, it's more of like Halloween time, but it'll be okay. So I've got that going on. Trying to settle into this new place and
Yeah, a lot.
figure out how to get around town without my GPS, which is, I
Oh,
keep
wow.
getting lost. How about for you, Tish?
Well, I'm focusing strictly on this cozy mystery. Book
Okay.
one is going to be a series. I, oh, for now, I'm planning to be finished and for it to be in the hands of my alpha beta readers. So I can focus on outlining book two for Nano, which is in November, and I'm going to work on a haiku book. I would like to have it released for Valentine's Day. It's called Heartstrings. So
I
it's a
like
book of haikus.
that.
Yeah. So I'm going to be working on that for, yeah. But it's gonna be busy because I'm pushing myself forward. I'm gonna expand on my author's platform. I'm gonna be working with my own press, but just focusing on me on my press and offering other indie authors, maybe book covers, marketing, promotion, things like that with 30 Quells Press. So yeah, I have my agenda filled for this year and next year, and I'm excited. I am truly excited about the steps. So we're gonna look in the audience and see who's out here. We have Ann. She said hello, and she wanted you to know she loved Nancy Drew.
I do too. I still love Nancy.
Mm-hmm. Ann said she is crocheting one of her mystery tropes when we was talking about the Southern
Yeah,
Quilting.
that's a great one to use. I mean, all of the crafting ones, I mean, you get to use a separate subcategory on, oh my gosh, what's it called? The metadata. In your metadata, you get to put in crafts for under cozy. So it's not just general cozy. So that's a great one
Oh,
to use.
that's really good to know. I'm learning a lot today. Ann said, who you like to write? Oh, do you like to write with music or background noise?
I think it helps. If it's too quiet, sometimes it kind of trips me up a little bit, but I can't have lyrics. I've got to have it just be, just a tune without lyrics, or I start to listen to the
Me
lyrics
too.
or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I used to couldn't write with music. It had to be totally silent, and then I started going to coffee shop, and it was so weird. It had to be quiet at home, but it can be so noisy in a coffee shop, and I can write perfectly without the headsets or anything. And then
Yeah.
got introduced to my daughter's music after all these years. I finally started listening to her music. I'm like, oh, I like this. I like the lo-fi, and that was new for me.
Yeah, I love that. I was like, it was new for me too. I had to look it up and kind of bring in some of the music that I was like, this is great to write to. It's
Mm,
not distracting and it kind of just gets you going. It keeps you moving. It's nice.
let's see. We have Coffee Create Connect. She said she loved that. She do not like outlining. She hated, but she would try it. That's when we was talking about outlining.
Yes, I mean, just give it a go. Even if you just put down like one sentence at the end of your writing session as to what you want to cover the next day, so you don't have to read back over,
Oh,
even that
do
helps
they?
because,
Okay.
if you're reading back over your work, it can kind of put you into edit mode or make you feel frustrated or discouraged. And that way you just move right into your story and you don't have to figure out where you left off.
I had to stop myself. Well, I always have to stop myself from reading, going back, going back, going back. Let's
Yeah.
see. Coffee Create Connect said this happened to me. I was in my bathroom crying about my lost work, but in the end, I actually ended up much better writing because of it. True. Yes. It hurt at the time, but you got to change that mindset. Writing is about your mindset and editing. And yeah, I came out with something much better. I'm so glad you did. Let's see what she said. Blessing in disguise. Yes, it was a blessing in disguise.
Mhm.
Let's see what else she said. She said she has a whole ritual I do to get ready to write. It helps. Let's see. I would love to know what that was. Anyway, Elizabeth, how can our audience reach out to you for your books? Maybe sign up for your newsletter.
That would be great. Yeah, I am online at elizabethspanncraig.com. That's just my full name. I'm also on Twitter and on Facebook under my name. So I'm pretty easy to find online.
And I have your links in the description below. So y'all be sure to click on it. Check her out, reach out, sign up to Elizabeth's newsletter, and get those books. I'm telling you, I told my friend because I wasn't brought up as a reader. I discovered reading in the later part of my life, and I was reading about 3 books this past week. And I said, I'm where you used to be. These books. become your best friend. You get so invested in the characters and their story. I won't watch TV because these books are my TV. Like, wow.
Yeah, it's the best. And then you get to picture it all in your head. It's so much better than, TV. I mean, to me
Yeah.
anyway. Sometimes I like TV too, but I do love reading more.
So I want to thank you for having this coffee break with us. It was so informative. It was a pleasure having you here, and I would love to for you to come back. Come back
I
one day
loved
and
it.
we talk more about your books and your writing.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Tish, for having me today. I just loved it. It was a wonderful way for me to start out my day doing your 5 a.m. stream and then being here with you later. It's been great.
Thank you. Thank you. So you all have a wonderful day. Until next time, happy writing.